You joined us for Rain of Blood, and together we made it rain bigger and better than we could have ever imagined. So now, join us for a second blazing inferno of knowledge and exploration. You're listening to Rain of Fire, the scorching sequel event to Rain of Blood, where we're going to delve into the world of fireplay education and safety as we prepare for the upcoming Rain of Fire event. Join your host, Miss Kitten, Radically Dark, and Ember Solaris as we ignite your curiosity and stoke the flames of passion with discussions, interviews, and authentic insights from around the globe. Together, we're three flames united in one mission to make quality kink education more accessible and open pathways to conversation and connection about edgeplay topics around the world. But before we dive into these sizzling topics, a content warning. Rain of Fire discusses mature themes, explicit content, and practices related to BDSM and fireplay. So listener discretion is advised, and this is an adult-only podcast. Other topics may include mental health, trauma, consent, and more. So please be sure you're in a good spot to engage in these topics before continuing to listen. So, grab your fire gear, stoke the flames of curiosity, and let's embark on this crackling journey together. Welcome to Rain of Fire.
Hey, amazing firebugs. I have an incredible Canadian human with me in the dungeon today talking about fire, Una's odysseys, and all other kinky things. So I'm really excited to welcome Miss Una to my dungeon and to share this space with him today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi there, I'm so happy to be here today.
We're really excited. You have two fabulous classes that we are going to hopefully ask you to host at Rain of Fire, and we're really excited about that. But before we get into all the nitty gritty, and I now have like a list of questions swirling around my head, so I'm crossing my fingers because somebody told me that if you remember something, cross your fingers and then you'll remember the comments. I have all my fingers crossed because I have so many questions to ask you. But before we start, can you tell me a little bit about your kink journey, how you found this wonderful non-vanilla world, and how that translated to playing with fire?
Absolutely. I'll try to stay concise because my kink journey was quite a path to walk through. I know that we all have our own journeys there, but I think for me, it's especially I didn't expect myself to end in the place that I am now. I started, in all honesty, my kink journey very much with exploring my little side and my pet play side, which were things that I felt I had an interest in since I was very young. I got into some bad experiences when I first started in kink, and that's part of where too that I started to develop my own mentality when it came to kink. I became very about safe, sane, and consensual kink, and also about especially being able to educate people around me about those risks that I encountered myself because I didn't have the right information. So I went from being a little to being a little educator, and then one thing led to another, and I had the chance of meeting a wonderful dom in Montreal, and I was able to tell them that I had little experience in receiving pain, but that I thought I would like it, but I didn't want, I didn't want them to not have fun if I ended up not liking it. That was important for me. I didn't want them to think, oh, I can take anything and then arrive and start like being like, okay, no, that's a red after one slap. It went far from that. On the contrary, I ended up finding a bit of a paint slut side to myself. And in this person, I also found a friend who was one of my very first mentor, and definitely one of those mentors that to this day I incredibly respect. I love them. They've really taught me a lot, from flogging to the different areas. And also they just taught me about being able to ask, to communicate with your sub, to see how they're feeling during a scene, and to make it so that it doesn't have to stop the scene. It can be asked in a very in character way, if we could say. So yeah, it kind of went a bit snowball from there. I started exploring a lot of different kinks as a top. And as I gained experience, as I gained confidence, I explored more and more things. And at some point, I had a discussion with my partner, and we I don't know how to say, but this discussion ended up with us both looking at each other and being like, all right, so I guess we'll be looking into fire play classes. So I found an educator and I started learning about it. And it was one of those things that was an immediate heartthrob. I wanted to do it all the time. I did it a lot, especially on myself. I highly believe in testing things out on myself that I will do to others. So yeah, I started just making torches, using them on myself, and practicing my skills.
I love that. You said so much in that introduction. I've got no more fingers to cross because now I'm going to forget all the things that I wanted to ask in the beginning. But the first thing that really resonated with me there was how the person that you met early on in your journey taught you to use your voice. And that I just love that. I think that that needs to be encouraged. And the one thing
Oh,
I'm
yes.
learning about fire play is how necessary it is to show up with an honest voice as a bottom, and to have confidence in your own voice, because it's literally like it's probably the one kink where it really is a matter of life and death. like it's really like, don't hold back. Like, now's not the time.
Absolutely. If you're not sure about calling your yellow, you should have called yellow a while ago. That's something that I'm very upfront with people that meet me, because a lot of people seem to look at this as kind of like suspension and rope, an end all be all to kink. Like, oh, this is one of the top kinks because of the risk profile involved. I tend to agree in some way that yes, because of the risk profile, but it also means for me that this is not something I would try with someone who is debuting in their kink journey. Because I know that when I was debuting, even though sometimes I would think that I was in total control of myself, there was a lot of elements that I just didn't know about, like just the power dynamic that can happen in between two people if one has more experience than the other. So for me, it's very important to only play with people to do this that I know if they don't have experience in fire play, they have experience in a lot of other play / other edge kinks.
I love that. Yeah, I think active bottoming, it should be like the first thing taught coming into the community. Like it really is, like before submission or before anything else, just active bottoming, just being able to use your voice. So I'm a huge advocate for that, especially in my own community, and in my own life. I think part of my kink journey has given me this amazing voice and the ability to use it. So I just love the way that it sort of resonates out of you when you talk. It's really beautiful.
Thank you
Okay,
so
so
much.
let's get on to a bit of fire, because I'm desperate to know
Yes.
about burning stuff. So you
Yes.
have two really interesting classes. Both of them I haven't seen anything similar to, and they both captivated me when I had a look at them. So the first one deals with the emotional side. Do you want to talk to me a
Yes.
little bit about that, and how that came to be, and yeah, and why that class for you?
Absolutely. I'd say this answer is trifold. It goes into a few different answers. The first one is that I met a person recently in my kink journey that I felt extremely lucky to meet, just in how we both were able to exchange a lot of ideas, and they just taught me a lot, I felt. And with that person, basically, we started with my partner doing rope classes with them. And in their rope classes, they went through an aspect about emotions in a scene. And this was an intensive weekend class. And I rarely felt so exhausted after doing two classes. It was really the classes were not even that long. I think they were 5 or 6 hours, and we had breaks. The group was super fun. I highly recommend the teacher that taught me this. Their name is Rigason. They are a local person in the kink community of Montreal, and yes, I just really enjoyed what they taught in that class, and it made me realize through it that I had quite an emotional blockage. Um, I attributed that to the fact that I am currently being tested for autism. Sorry, autistic spectrum disorder. So with time, I've started to see myself more in that way of like, okay, let's go back to the basics. And in their class, Rigason brought a wheel of emotion. And as soon as I saw this tool, I was listening to the class, but let's say my partner was listening way more than me because I was so focused on the wheel of emotions and looking through all of it, looking through what type of emotions there were there. Because from what they were talking about, this was the intent of this class, was to bring different type of emotions in the same tie. And doing this really showed me you can do so much if you just take the time to really be in line with your partner about what you're going to explore. Doing the same exact routine, I've explored vastly different emotions. For an example, I've explored the emotion of being scandalized. So this goes very much with the dynamic with my partner because he loves to tease me. So this was easy to explore, but we also explored things that were more scary. Like I think one of them was terrified and or anger explored on their side. And for me, anger is something that I have a lot of trouble dealing with. And so to be able to explore those things in such a healthy way felt really cathartic. So for me, this was a thing of, oh, I know I want to bring that into more play. I knew that being able to not just put a feeling on someone, put a sensation, but bring them an emotion into it and discuss about this emotion beforehand, that was for me just such an aspect that needed to be explored, especially in edge kink, because I felt that sometimes I felt that my intention would not be properly received. And in that, what I mean is that, for example, I would go with a very nurturing, calming demeanor towards approaching fire play in my scenes. And I would see this kind of fear in the eyes of my partner, while some of them would instead resonate with this kind of calm warmth that I brought. So all of this just made this path for me that I saw that was like, okay, so I feel that I can extrapolate this and bring more into my scene from bringing these kind of emotions. That's where also that blade play kinds of comes into play into this, because I have been loving this edgy side of edge play, especially since I bought a machete in the latest months. And it has been now just one of my favorite tools to do body manipulation, just because of the contrast of temperature in between the blade and the flame.
Love all of that. Aligning that intent it was so hard for me in the beginning because I didn't quite know what my intent was. So,
so similar for me. I was lucky to meet another person named Miss K, but their name is Miss Coco, and that's the person that got me to explore more my intent in things. And just to mention, because I forgot earlier, the person who first got me to start in kink was Little Montreal Cherry, just to give credit where credit is due.
I love that. I think we will leave a legacy in kink, so it's very nice to be remembered for the good things. So the legacy, the good legacies, because I'm sure we remembered for the bad too. Um,
Yes.
yeah. So the aligning intent, and I think that was hard for me in the beginning. It took me a long time, and I'm the way my brain works as well. I need a lot of I needed a lot of pre-negotiation to start in order to align with myself, and to consent with myself, and then to be able to take that forward and make sure that the intent that the other person required from me was something that I A could offer and B had capacity for. So I'm super excited about your class, and I have to mention the machete thing because I have a machete too, and
Oh, beautiful.
I've had mine completely blunted. I have a absolute fascination with being spanked with big knives and machetes and all of that. So I use mine for spanking. It's been completely blunted, but it is the most amazing spanking tool, and it feels incredible. And the cold steel is yeah, it's epic. So I've also blunted a whole bunch of Damascus carving knives and cleavers, which the person who blunted them for me cried for about a week when he had to do that for me.
Oh my
But
God.
I absolutely love the feeling of the cold steel. Like it's something it's my personal base. Like it's in my personal spanking box. I don't use it on other people. It's for my own bum. But it's my my knife collection is my for my ass is my dirty little secret. Like it's really
I love
so
this. We're getting the secrets out on this podcast.
yeah, I shouldn't be spilling all of the beans, but you can make me a very happy kitten with a big piece of steel that's been blunted for impact. I think
Oh,
that
but
that's
but I feel you. I've blunted mine myself, and yes, I did kind of cry while blunting this beautiful machete. But when I could use it then on people to spank them, and I saw the kind of surprise because they knew we were doing impact, they knew we were doing blade play. I just don't think they expected me to spank them with the machete.
it's such an epic sensation though, because it's
It's
super
beautiful.
stingy and it's super thuddy and it's super cold and it's
I
all of
know
those things all in
it's
one go.
beautiful.
And it has the ability to cover my entire canvas of a bottom with one spank.
Yes,
It's really like it leaves
yes.
nothing to the imagination. I don't feel like one side's getting left out. I feel like
No,
everything's being
exactly.
included. Like it's my best. You've got me
You're
grinning from
you're
ear to ear.
you're being taken care of in a full, complete capacity when you get a machete.
Right?
Yeah,
Try that
no,
on
I
my
feel
and
you.
that on my thighs, and I'm in total kitten heaven. I'm not often a complete kitten, but you bring out a machete and I'm yours. Like it's not a hard
Uh,
sell.
I feel you. I'm similar with knives. I was lucky to get that started from a friend, Ruby, in Montreal. They were amazing in their knife play class. But yes, when I first started that, I did not expect to fall this much in love with it. Same with fire, and I mean, I should have expected it since I'm young. I'm very into fire, so I'm more surprised that it took me so much time to get to fireplay than that I am in fireplay now.
What so let's talk a bit about fireplay. What is fire? Like I have heard 100 different topics in fireplay, and people have described them in different ways. They have different names for different things. So what is the type of fireplay that you love doing? And yeah, give me a little
Yeah,
bit more detail.
absolutely. Well, for me, my fireplay practice started a big part with exploring on myself. So, kind of like fire performance mixed in with fireplay. So, a lot of it would be for me, it's the feeling of warmth, it's the feeling of being close to danger. And I don't think it's the same for everyone, but I do know that a lot of my partners resonate with that feeling, that kind of like, oh, it's dangerous, but it's also a weirdly kind of a caring warmth. It's if it's used a certain way. So for me, that was a big part of it, was kind of like fire, like anything, was a tool, and it was a tool that I could use to bring in a certain energy, and it really resonated with a lot of my very pagan roots, I'd say, in that sense. So I just, yeah, I just love the power I felt I could not control, but dance with, because for me, it's this kind of thing of fire could go wrong at any point. And I feel that's a big part, maybe, of the enticement that some people find in it. And it's just like driving a car. At some point, I mean, you're driving at 100 kilometers an hour on the freeway, you're talking with someone, twiddling with your radio, picking up something from your bag. We forget how dangerous some things are because we're just used to doing it. And that's kind of where I wanted to get with fire for myself, but also for what I could bring to others with it. And so, yeah, I started slowly with kind of just temperature play. So it was mostly bringing the fire close to someone, then putting some cold water on them to slowly drop down the temperature again. But then it went to some more extremes that I find myself to really enjoy, like fire impact. I've been crafting for since as long as I can remember, but I've been in the later months crafting a lot when it comes to kink. That's where Una's oddities came up. We started this with other friends, and yeah, on my part, I craft a lot of impact toys, but also most, if not all, of my torches. I think I have maybe 8 torches, and only one of them I bought because they're a bit hard to come by in Canada. So I ended up making most of my own, and 2 of them are actually made with big piece of bones.
Oh, I
And
love that.
for impact, it's wonderful, and a lot of the performance I do are very kind of like oriented in this Norse pagan mythology. So a lot of times it fits really perfectly with the aesthetic and the aura that I bring into a scene.
I absolutely love that. I love the idea of fire spanking. I'm not quite sure how it works
Yes.
though, because it's like it's completely fantasy in my head. I've never really experienced it in real life. So can you give this kitten a little bit of a breakdown? Because you obviously know I'm quite into spanking. I've hidden it so well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd be so happy. The breakdown I can give, some people do this thing that's fire spanking with a glove. I absolutely respect people who do that. I do not particularly like it, but that's not for a wrist profile reason or such. It's really more my tism, and it just goes, well, it's not going fast enough. I need to put alcohol on it all the time. It lights out after a few slaps. So it can be very fun because it has still this, for having experienced that, it still has like this very oomph sensation of you're getting slapped, but also it's very hot. But for me, impact came more with tools. So, for example, one of my bone torch is made from the jawbone of, I think, a caribou, a moose. So basically, it's very big and it's flat at the end. So it has a heavy weight to it that makes it so I can just use this torch to have fire hover over someone, but I can also use it holding it in one hand to hit someone with.
Oh wow. Okay.
It has quite an impact. It's quite fun for having received it myself. It is definitely one of my heftier slash, I'd say, scarier torch because it has one of the bigger flames.
Okay. So do you then use a second hand to put the fire out? How much fire goes onto the
Yes.
human?
Yes, sorry. I was so focused in just the part about slapping. I forgot about that other part.
You
The
said
whole
slapping and I was just sat here with a grin on my face and then realized I was still on a podcast. I actually needed to ask you another question and not just
that's
bask in the slapping glory that you were talking about. And I was like, oh, right, focus.
I love this. Yes, basically, it will depend on the experience of the person I'm playing with, on their desire. and also their resistance. But the resistance is something I will have judged after a few play sessions with them. I won't go like, oh, you're probably as resistant as you tell me the first time we play. But basically, first time I slap anyone with any of my tools with any fire, first off, I always have a big towel on me. Well, not big, but like a medium towel on me that is drenched with cold water. So before and in between most contact with fire, I will be sponging up the skin of the person where I will be touching them. So I will be putting a film of water over them, we could say. It helps with keeping the skin cool, but also creates this slight barrier of protection where they will feel the heat, but the skin won't be affected as fast as if there was no water or no anything. So I will be doing that. But then as, let's say, a session progress and my play with someone progresses over a few sessions, I will be using the towel less and less depending on their desires. So what this means is that at first I hit, I pass the towel. I hit, I pass the towel. But then sometimes I could hit 2 times before I pass the towel. I could hit 3 times before I pass the towel. It will all depend on my partner. And see, that's where also that I resonated so heavily with what you were saying earlier about communication and using your voice, especially as a bottom. It's so, so important in fire play. And for me, a big part of it personally, how I see it as a fire play top, is that I have to inspire this confidence in my partner. I have to show them that it's okay to talk to me and to give me feedback on what is going on if it's too hot, if they're feeling comfortable. I need to create this space where it is okay, but also make them understand that I am confident in my own abilities so that they don't need to overstress on receiving.
I love that. I think yeah, I think it's hard because I think the old school community that I came into as a very confused vanilla girl at some point in my my previous life. You know, there was all this don't top from the bottom, don't, you know, you have a space that you belong in, you not, you know, you sort of, you have no rights. And
I've heard that, yes.
yeah, and I'm so, as an older person, I'm loving what I'm hearing from the new generation because you guys are much more active about wanting to give your bottoms voices and using your own voice and collaborating in the negotiation. And you've taken, and you've taken this, you know, when I was young. Sounds like I'm 500, but you know, I am slightly I'm slightly geriatric, yeah. You know, sexy talk for us was the talk when you were already between the sheets, and you know, it didn't happen very often in most relationships. It hardly happened at all. But when it did happen, it was something that made the intimacy better. And kink for me has taken that sexy talk and just put it in front of the intimacy. And I think that gives us the opportunity to negotiate everything that we want and talk about it, but it doesn't need to be a bad thing. And having your voice heard and being able to get what you want from an interaction that's meant to be part of your fantasy is so super important. I'm loving what I'm hearing from from all over the world of how important it is, but just reminded in fire that this is something that there is no second chance often, and it's super important that the bottom is aware of that and able to use that. A little bit about what other toys you're making. I want to ask you about your Una's creations, Una's odysseys. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, basically this started with some friends and my partner, and I feel so very lucky about having the people I have in my life, about having the chosen family I have, because they've been such a great help into getting this project off the ground. It started because somebody told us we couldn't. Just to give some context, my partner is vegan, and we were looking to take a class together about flogging with Florentine, so with two floggers. And we were looking to get ourselves a pair from the people we're doing the class. And they were super sweet talking with us. And as we talk and see their floggers, my partner just asks, "Oh, are they made from leather?" And like they say, "Yes, they are." And my partner keeps complimenting them, and at the end just goes, "They're really beautiful. It's just I'm vegan, so I know I wouldn't be able to use them on me or such." And it's such, how can I say, I'm not vegan, but for me it was such a reasonable thing of just not wanting this to touch him, and I understood. But then a person who was not related in the conversation but was also there at that moment just started speaking to us and started basically telling us that we wouldn't find anything better than leather, that you can do a good flogger that gave a oomph without using leather and such, and that alternatives were not good, etc., etc. And we felt kind of dumbfounded from having this volley of like, "No, you can't do that, no." And my partner just tried something at home. He had some old bike chambers, like the air chambers from the bike tires. He does a lot of bicycle, and basically he had a few that were broken, and he just started cutting them up. And we had our few prototype of what would become now kind of its own little business. He made floggers made from this rubber that was upcycled, and we kept working and working and working on that prototype. At first, we it was only a few strands basically taped at the end of an O-ring. We ended up adding a D-ring to the O-ring to help with the tension and such. We worked that design over and over, and got a lot of feedback from my chosen family, which was super helpful, and made it so that now I make them for other members of the community, and I'm so super proud. I have my first. I've had my first few orders made for friends, but I've had my first order made from a craft fair recently, and I'm so very happy to be working on this. So I make the floggers, and I've also started making from the bike tires, which are too rigid to make floggers out of. I've started making dragon tails and slappers. So yeah, I make a lot of toys from upcycled rubber, and I also do soy wax candles in pastel pop colors for wax play. And my two other partners in Una's Oddities do spell jars and other little crafts like keychains and very cute things for us queers and dears. And our other partner does prints and little patches. So yeah, we have a very diverse cast at Una's Oddities.
I love that. The name is just perfect. But it's almost captivating, spellbinding on its own. Like you made me wanna go on your website and have a look.
Well,
You need
you can find me on Patreon, Patreon slash Una's Oddities with an S.
Amazing, and I'm going to drop that in the show notes as well. So if anybody wants to connect, and I'm also going to hopefully get you to take a vendor stand for us at Rain of Fire, and we can promote your candles and your wax play goods. And then if you any of your fire ones are would also be very applicable for our event.
I
So
I would
I'm
be so very happy.
yeah, I'm just quietly asking you on air, so you can't say no. Nothing, nothing like a bit of coercion in life.
Exactly. I was about to say nothing like a bit of coercion while we're having a
Mm.
discussion about like well discussed boundaries and kinks.
Yeah, it's super, super. Just I thought I'd throw it in there. I didn't. It wasn't actually intentional. You're welcome to say
No,
no, but
I absolutely no, and I would have said no if I was uncomfortable
yeah.
even on the air. But no, I am super into it. I would be super happy. For me, it started as this little dream to be able to give back to the community that taught me so much, and now it's building up into this thing where people around me ask me to make the Patreon because a lot of people that I knew that were not in the super active kink lifestyle, but would talk a lot with me and would see these when they would ask, "Hey, what's up with you?" And I would tell them, I'm like, "Hey, I'm building this, I'm doing this," and they were so enthused. And they told me, "Hey, if you ever have a Patreon or something, I'd be super happy supporting you." And yeah, for me, it was just really this thing of being able to reach an audience, show them what I do, and to now have people from other places than just around me in my local community being interested in my toys has been such a beautiful journey of just happiness and sharing back with the community.
I love that. We have a little one in South Africa called the Playbox that we my I call her Mother Russia. She's my dungeon second and one of my best friends. And she's like my rock. She's like the woman who stops me making huge mistakes in life and makes sure that I'm guided in a direction away from the continuous chaos that I love to find. And
I
she's
feel you.
yeah, yeah, I think you might.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
that's
I
my
think you
partner and
might.
daddy.
Yeah, and so she really is my Mother Russia. Like anything can happen in the dungeon, and she's got this calm demeanor that she just handles chaos so well. But she's done the same for us in Cape Town, and we've managed to connect now with a whole bunch of South African artists who make stuff that we sell off our little Playbox stand, and it's really lovely to see the community connect. So I feel you hugely in that, and also that little artists who don't have a chance to promote their stuff can have a space to promote themselves, and they get bigger and they get stronger, and they grow a little bit. So we've absolutely loved it. And I wanted to go back to your flogger thing because I'm the world's worst with a flogger. I think I've been flogged once in my entire kink history, and it was with a barbed wire flogger,
Oh my
not
god.
an actual flogger. And I think I've flogged. I went to one flogging class. The joke of the whole thing was they did a raffle for a very expensive leather flogger, and I won it. I've never used a flogger. Um, and the whole class, like they didn't even I didn't even progress to hitting a body during that class. The entire class I was given the wall, and I was terrible at it. It's just something that just doesn't connect with me. And but my fire whip top, and my partner's very into latex, so my fire whip top made a latex flogger for us with which is very similar to your rubber, but to your bicycle
Yeah.
bands, which I think I'm definitely, my partner also cycles, so you're giving me a whole bunch of ideas. I now got a process for those hundreds of tires that don't get used up afterwards. But I love that the feeling of the latex is just so different to the feeling of the leather. The leather does nothing for
Oh,
me. It's not exciting. But that rubber is just divine. Um,
I absolutely get you there. It's honestly, that's also why we kept making them, is that the first time he tried it on me when he did the prototype, I was so surprised by how much I like it, because in Impact I have this aversion to stingy pains. I don't like being caned, things like that. I really prefer tuddiness and such. So for me, I was extremely surprised to fall in love with a rubber toy. In my head, it couldn't happen, but on the contrary, I just fell in love with all things rubber because of that. And when I started working it and making new toys, I discovered it was such a versatile material, but also something that didn't feel like anything I had felt before. And I was happy to see that that's a feedback that came back a lot. Just people telling me it feels so different. It feels stingy yet tutty. It feels tuttier and heavier than a leather flogger for the same amount of strength. So yeah, I just had a lot of good feedback coming from that, and it just made me so happy to, yeah, as we were saying, be able to use something that most of the time it just get thrown away in the trash. Like there's no recycling for most things rubber, sadly. Depending on where you live, I know that here in Canada recycling has been kind of an issue in later years, but that's a whole other topic. But when I was able to contact bike shops and see them just tell me, yeah, no, I'll give them to you, because if not, they're going in the trash anyway.
Yeah, and it's something that you've created. We've got a whole selection of stuff that we've made, and it's an amazing experience to be able to conceptualize it, um, fiddle around with the prototype, develop it a
Yeah.
bit more, and play with it, and then I like anything that has a bit of tradition. So either my toys are like 100 years old, or they're stuff that we've made and we've really enjoyed spending
Mhm.
time doing that together. But yeah, I have a lot of respect for that, and I'm so excited to be able to give you some space at our event and let other people see what Canada has to offer toy-wise, because I think it's lovely that we get to share stuff like this with community. It's very exciting.
I absolutely do relate to that, and I would be happy to talk more also about possibly being able to share yours in dungeons in Canada, because I do think there is a lot of people around that just love being able to explore different cultures through kink. This
We
is
have
something that I see a lot.
Yeah, we have something in South Africa that is definitely unique, and that is our sjambok, which is a leather cane. So when they are made cheaply, they're made out of a plastic. But when they are made correctly, and the old-fashioned way, they're made out of a hide. So they are a very intense form of punishment, and a very intense caning. So something that you don't get. But yeah, just an
But
interesting.
that sounds
So
like such an amazing tool. Just like, I mean, I don't know the cultural aspects of it, so I cannot say there, but just like being able to use a cultural tool and be able to bring it back into common culture, it's very, for me, I think a big part of kink has been that. For me, it's been deconstructing culture, because I am from a background that is heavily mixed. So I was raised Italian, but I have no blood from there. A bit shunned family wise in that sense, bastarda. But that's a big thing for me, to be able to just make my own culture. And I feel that kink gave me this ability to be very eclectic in what I do and bring in this kind of own self-made culture. So that's why I'm super happy to be able to present my toys and bring in new things. That's one of the things that I really adore about crafting. And as you said, the whole process of being able to fidget with something and just bring it to life at the end and see how people respond to it, it's so very nurturing to the soul.
Yeah, and it also makes my toy box unique, which I really like as well,
Yes.
which I think is important. And it's not something I've bought off Shein or found in a local Grays store.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that. Um, oh, no, I've had such a amazing time chatting to you, and I'm so excited for your classes, and I'm excited for In Fire, because I'm just excited to burn stuff at the moment. I might be slightly in frenzy, and my friends might need to protect themselves from me for for the next month and a half until I have proper training. But we're really blessed to have all this community connect with us from all over the world. And yeah, just a huge thank you for putting your hand up and for joining us. And we can't wait to see you in class.
Thank you so much, Kay. It was a pleasure talking with you today. And thank you very much for helping organize this, just like putting all of this together and bringing all of us from all over the world to be able to share together. I feel it's just such a valuable experience about sharing knowledge, and that's something that makes me really happy to be able to be a part of. So I'll be looking forward to the possibility of seeing you all at Ring of Fire 2024. And yeah, it was a pleasure being here today.
Thank you. And to all my listeners, I think we have 1 day left of our early bird sale on our tickets. I think we have about 10 early bird tickets left. If you don't have your early bird ticket, I don't know what you're doing with your life. I can't help you. You need to get your ticket, get yourself sorted out for Fire, get organized, get verified, so that we can have you either on our FedLife group or on our Discord server, you need to sort that out. If cost is an issue to attending our event, and we have sponsorships available, we have scholarships available, please reach out to our amazing humans that are helping us admin, and one of the team members will sort that out for you. Education should be available to all, and we really strongly believe in that. If you've got some cool fire pics that you're sharing on FetLife, please tag us and put the hashtag let it rain. We're really keen to see your work. We're really keen to connect this community a little bit more as we start to get closer to Rain of Fire. And we're burning with excitement. I'm literally just burning stuff at the moment, which is the puns are terrible in this fire event. I'm sorry, you guys have got at least another month of my terrible puns. I
was just about to say earlier, get your tickets while they're still warm.
Well, it's hot, yeah. No, I have to stop myself. Like, I think we need an award for the worst pun of this whole festival.
I think they should. That should be a little award during the festival. You need to be able to send in a submission when you do a bad enough pun.
100% agree with that. So audience, if you guys need help with anything, reach out to Rain of Fire. We're really looking forward to seeing you guys. Keep listening, show my presenters some amazing love and warmth. And from my dungeon all the way in Cape Town, South Africa, lots of love and kitten kisses.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure being here. And if you want to find me, you can find me at Taste of Pesky, and I'll be happy to answer any question that any of y'all have about fire or my rubber toys.
Amazing. Thanks. Amazing human.